now taking messages that I think are very good for Christians and that I would hope that Christians would promulgate. And instead, they're using that as a weapon politically against people that they don't like.
Hello everyone, I'm Joseph Dinesh, a Catholic commentator from Sydney, Australia. In today's video, I want to discuss the current social media controversy surrounding Candace Owens' use of the phrase Christ the King, which some have interpreted as a political statement against the Jewish community. As many of you know, Candace recently was fired from the Daily Wire amidst a public dispute with Ben Shapiro regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. So in that context, she brought up this phrase Christ the King in one of her tweets, igniting this whole controversy. So that's what we are going to analyze today. In the first clip, Ben Shapiro clearly expresses his support for Christians proclaiming Christ the King within the culture. However, he also shares his concern regarding how some individuals have utilized this phrase in ways that could provoke or offend the Jewish community. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I, as a Jew, have not only no problem with people saying, for example, Christ is King. I think that that's a good thing for Christians to say. I want Christians to do that because I think that for American society, more people need to declare who are Christian that Christ is King and go back to church. And frankly, as a Jew, I'm flattered that you care enough about my soul that you wish me to become one of you. That's a lot better than it has been historically, where people were coming after people like me with a sword and forcing conversion or forcing death. You know, that is all not only fine, that is wonderful for me. But what you are seeing very often is people now taking messages that I think are very good for Christians and that I would hope that Christians would promulgate. And instead, they're using that as a weapon politically against people that they don't like.
Now we can all understand Candace's sentiment. As a Christian, Candace recognizes the deep significance of the phrase Christ the King. She does not just want to merely acknowledge it, but boldly proclaim it, as every Christian should do. However, it is important to recognize that some have twisted its meaning to suit their political or personal agendas. Taking this into consideration, I can empathize with Ben Shapiro's perspective. It appears that his primary concern lies in the context in which Candace Owens used the phrase Christ the King, which was the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, given the troubled history between Christians and Jews, I think it was insensitive for Candace to do that. Now, having considered both these perspectives, let's hear from Bishop Barron on the true Christian interpretation of the phrase Christ the King and the appropriate context in which it should be used.
Yeah, and the kingship of Christ is very interesting because a lot of Christian proclamation is ironic in a way. So the very fact that the first evangelist is Pontius Pilate, who puts on the cross of Jesus the sign, Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judaeorum, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And he puts it into three languages of that time and place, in Greek and Hebrew as well. And so he means it as a bit of mockery, but in fact, it makes him the first evangelist. He's declaring to the world the kingship of Jesus. Paul takes him up on that. So St. Paul had been Rabbi Shaul and knew all the great traditions of Judaism, saw Jesus as the fulfillment of the hope of Israel, and therefore said, Jesus Kyrios in his Greek. Jesus Christ is Lord. Well, that's a way of saying Jesus Christ is King.
Now, just because some people in the past have abused this phrase Christ the King does not mean that we cannot use it in the right context. As Bishop Barron emphasizes, it was quite radical for St. Paul to affirm Jesus as the king during a time when the Roman Empire regarded Caesar as the ultimate ruler and king. If St. Paul can proclaim it at the risk of his own life, nothing should stop us from proclaiming it, which is why the Catholic Church celebrates the feast of Christ the King the Sunday after Easter. Let's continue listening.
Mind you, as we look at Christ, King, with the sign of Pontius Pilate over his head, he's on the cross, which means he's stripped of worldly power. He's not reigning as another Caesar, as a rival Caesar. He's a qualitatively different kind of king. Indeed, all things are meant to be brought under his aegis, including the political order. That's true. He's the Lord of all things, but he's Lord in a qualitatively different manner. He's not one more worldly king fighting against the standard worldly kings. He's this Prince of Peace, as we say, the one who offers shalom, who does indeed battle Caesar, but not with the weapons of the world. He battles Caesar with the weapons of God's forgiveness and compassion and mercy. The Jesus who shows his wounds to his disciples, look what the world did to me. That's true. We see our sin in the cross. But then shalom, peace. God's love is greater than anything that's in the world. That's his kingship. So in the measure that it's being used to divide and to foment hatred, and as you say, it has been misused over the centuries in a violent way. That's always repugnant to the deepest purpose of Christianity.
The second crucial point to grasp here is that Jesus isn't asserting kingship in the conventional worldly sense. He's not positioning himself as a king akin to Caesar. Instead, he embodies a kingship devoid of worldly trappings, engaging in a battle against evil with love, compassion, and mercy. It's undeniable that even the political realm falls under the authority of Jesus, as he is the Lord of all. So which means our ultimate allegiance finally is not to a political party or to a politician or to any leader, but to God alone. And this God does not govern through the fear as the world tyrants do, but rather through love. The clearest demonstration of this love is seen after resurrection, as Jesus appeared to his disciples despite some betraying him, abandoning him, and doubting him. He greeted them with "Shalom, peace be with you." So in conclusion, it is true that some have abused the phrase Christ the King over the centuries, but that should not deter us as Christians from proclaiming that Jesus indeed is the rightful King of the world. As usual, I would like to conclude with a poem. In crown of thorns, his glory springs. Christ the King, his praises sing. In hearts, his reign forever rings. Eternal love, the world he brings. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. God bless you.